Now, like I mentioned earlier, the Ministry of Mines and Mineral Resources has temporarily suspended the licenses of Sierra Leone Mining Company, and they have cancelled the operations of the Tonkolili Iron Ore Shandong. So we have here in our midst this afternoon a team from the Ministry of Mines and, of course, the NMA, the National Minerals Agency. The Director General, Mr. Julius Matai, is here. We have the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry and, of course, all the senior officials of the Ministry. So at this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Julius Matai, the Director General of NMA, to please come up and make a statement whilst we get our questions ready after his statement.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this press conference. I'm here standing in for my Minister of Mines and Mineral Resources, Honorable Fodorado Yoki, who should have been here to actually answer some of the questions and me providing some of the technical support or answering some of the technical questions. Unfortunately, he's been held up at a meeting in the State House, so he cannot be with us. But nonetheless, I'm more than ready and prepared, to give a background to some of the issues which I firmly believe you want to hear about, and I'll be more than willing to take questions from you later. I firmly believe that most of you are aware of the news that has been going on in local media as well as international media, that the government of Sierra Leone has cancelled or suspended several licenses of major mining companies. I want to categorically state that that's not true. It's false. We've not cancelled the license of several major mining companies. Rather, on the 3rd of June, the Ministry of Mines, after consultation with the National Minerals Agency, we cancelled the mineral rights of Tonkolili Iron Ore Project and its associated African Port and Rail Services, which are operated by Shandong Steel and Iron Group. Then also on the 3rd of July, we temporarily suspended, I repeat, temporarily, for 21 days, the operations of SL Mining that has been operating at the Marampa Iron Ore deposit. It's a fallacy that the government of Sierra Leone, especially the Ministry of Mines, is just going about cancelling license. But I want to provide context to the reasons we did that. It goes without saying that mining has been a major backbone of our economy. And I'm sure when we talk about Sierra Leone, the first that comes to mind, we are rich in mineral resources, gold, diamond, iron ore, rutile, bauxite, chromite, you name it. But the question that has always been elusive is, have we actually benefited from those? I firmly believe in 2013 and 15, before the Ebola struck in May of 2014, for most of you are here, the economy was doing extremely well, purely because the mining sector was contributing, significantly to the economy of this country. In 2013 and 14, it was almost 27% respectively. And the export from iron ore, in terms of value, export was well over $1 billion. And the two companies I'm talking about today, if you actually take and put things in context, especially for Shandong that has been here, when mining started a full production late 2011, was doing extremely well. We are familiar with the African mineral story, how everything went pear-shaped on the 6th of March 2015, when ownership passed on to Shandong. But prior to 2015 and 2014, what the government got from these mining companies in terms of taxes and non-tax-related revenue was pretty impressive. 38 million, 23 million. And ever since, in the last few years, it's not anything to write about. The same thing, when we talk about Marampa, I don't know where we now have SL Mining. The last figures we got actually in terms of anything meaningful went from Timis, took ownership from London Mining in October 2015, and that was just about 4.5 million. But we know SL Mining basically is operating in that place now. They got their license on the 29th of March 2017. after we cancelled the Franktin's mining license. It was cancelled on the 16th of March 2017, and within 2 weeks, the license was allocated to SL Mining. Most of us are familiar with the mere fact that when we give a mineral right, there's also another process. The mining lease agreement we normally sign, and that's normally ratified by the parliamentarians. SL Mining got their license ratified, on the 6th of December 2017, and most of you are familiar with the news that has been going around, that it was done late in the night, it was only brought there, and it was rubber stamped. And I encourage most Sierra Leoneans to visit our website, the NMA website. We have all the mining lease agreements. As my countrymen and women, I really plead with you, go and read some of these mining lease agreements and make up your mind and see whether as a country we are really benefiting from our mineral resources. And I will encourage you to put that in context. Please visit the NMA website, it's there. Actually, all the documents are there. When you read that agreement, you will see that SL Mining signed an agreement, a mining lease agreement with the government of Sierra Leone. But SL Mining is owned by Gerald Iron Ore Limited, which is a shell company sitting somewhere in British Virgin Island. Most of you have seen publications on the media, Gerald Group, Gerald Metal, a very complex company. We've done our due diligence, and we are very familiar with that structure. For those of you who are here, a few weeks ago I did a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation over an hour and a half. I really went through those details. Later, our Director of Communications from the National Minerals Agency will furnish you those materials. But as I mentioned, we have the Mines and Minerals Act of 2009 that basically guides our regulatory activities, and that's accompanied by the Mines and Minerals Operational Regulations of 2013. For us, that's our Bible, that's our Quran, and everything we do, we have to make sure it's in conformance with those Mines and Minerals Act. We've engaged SL Mining severally in terms of their obligations. When you give you mineral right, you have rights, and there are also obligations that do go with it. And we, as regulators, we are not just here to punish investors. Rather, we also have an obligation to protect and guide them accordingly. But after several engagements, if things are not going well, then we have to think. Our mission statement is quite clear, and our vision statement is to maximize the benefit from mineral resources for our countrymen, for us Sierra Leoneans. I, as the Director General of the National Minerals Agency, that responsibility falls squarely on my shoulders, together with my colleagues. And NMA, which is a professional wing, is actually answerable to the Ministry of Mines. So we ensure that we work in tandem. And of course, there are other MDAs that do work with us, because in some areas there are synergies, overlaps, irrespective of the occasional duplications here and there, that does create issues. When we suspended temporarily for 21 days, it was quite clear Section 52 of the Mines and Minerals Act were breached. And also, there were statements made by SL Mining during our engagement over a long period of time. We had engagement at the National Minerals Agency. I personally went to SL Mining together with my colleagues to visit the site. We spent some time. Being a specialist in iron ore geology, I was quite keen to see the entire operations to ensure they're in conformance with the Mines and Minerals Act provisions. And where there were shortfalls was actually to engage them and talk to them meaningfully. Without belaboring some of the technical issues. But the key thing here is, we all get excited when iron ore is exported from this country because the government of Sierra Leone stands to get some royalties. Some monies do accrue to us. And for bulk commodities like iron ore, we get 3%. 3%. Let me just remind you, the government of Sierra Leone hasn't got a percentage share of any penny in any mining company in this country. So we rely on those royalties and other streams of revenues accruing to us, from mining license fees, from penalties, from capital gains tax, income tax, duty fees and all the rest. I'm sure most of you in June, specifically June 16th, 26th, and also July 7th, saw some of the videos on social media, with various vessels taking iron ore out of the country. And I remembered the first one, we had a lot of people really say, oh, it's great to resume iron ore export, especially when you consider what's happened in Sierra Leone in 2014 and 15, when we had the double shock of Ebola as well as the steep drop in the price of iron ore. So it was exciting, but we had to ask ourselves. I remember I asked so many people, do you know where they're shipping the iron ore to? Have you got any idea how much they're selling it for? And it beggars belief, as the Director General, didn't even know. It might look like we were not doing our job. I have my Director of Mines here, Mr. Peter Bangura. We invited SL Mining after several discussions. We knew they were ready to ship. I visited the sites or stockpiles. Well, it made sense, and I think it's also respectful to the people of Sierra Leone, at least to tell us, according to the Mines and Minerals Act, we are supposed to have advanced pricing agreements who you are selling to, how much you are selling it for. At that time, the price of iron ore was really shooting up. It was really exciting, thinking that, yes, we'll engage people, at least our countrymen and women. I keep saying this, I have 7.1 million stakeholders, shareholders, and these are the people of Sierra Leone. Sadly, over 46% of them are under the age of 15, who have no clue about all these mining and geological things. But they know when their kids don't have food. They know when they need medicine. They know when their babies are crying. And it's for that reason we are here as National Minerals Agency to ensure, we who are the technical experts actually faithfully and with all our body, soul, and spirit work on their behalf. So for a company to be exporting iron ore from this part of the world without us knowing where they're selling and who they're selling to was really a shame. After several engagements, we couldn't get anything from them. And there was very little option. We tried again. They started shipping. Shipped on the 16th of June. MV Cooper, nearly 55,000 tons. Then again on the 26th of June, they shipped again on Alcatraz or Triumph, vessels with funny names. The plan was to ship butane shipments, the first 5 using, Supermax vessels. This normally take between 55 to 60,000 tons. Then after that, they ramp it up to 120,000 tons using Cape-size vessels. And it would have been a shame, a dishonor, and basically a painful event had we sat here as enemy and the Ministry of Mines to allow those commodities to leave this country without us really knowing who they're selling to. As much as we tried to engage SL Mining, the answer was, we are testing the market. But beggars believe that SL Mining has a parent company called Gerald Group that has several companies, Gerald Metal, Iron Ore, Gerald Metal Limited, and all the rest. They are actually specialists. They've been doing this for decades, selling on behalf. And let me just remind you, when London Mining went into administration in October 2014, later Frank Timis, most of you are aware of that name, who was one of the CEOs at AML, actually bought London Mining. The beggars believe as well. Initially, the receivers were Price Water Cooper House. He deposited 3 million just to make sure he gets, and then another 3 million. The whole thing was, up to now the figures are still disputable, for 10 million. And he inherited, of course, a debt of 230 million from the bankers led by Standard Chartered. Frank Timis, between October 2014 and March 2015, shipped a stockpile of 1.4 million tons, sold it for $46.5 million, for which the government of Sierra Leone got about 1.53 million. And he left a tax liability of over $6 million. That's how clever we are as a nation. And that's how caring we are. And in life, we all make mistakes, but if we don't learn from our mistakes collectively as a nation, I think that we have a serious crisis going ahead. And I think our children in the future will judge us not righteously. When you take that into context and you see a similar story happening, interestingly enough, when Frank Timis was doing those shipments, who was shipping on his behalf, it's the same SL Mining guys who were part of that cartel. Timis Mining Corporation was owned 75% by Gerald Metals, or Gerald Group. So they did the shipment on behalf of Frank Timis. And Frank Timis, once he's finished everything in March 2015, that's it, stop operations. For those who are here again, I was fortunate to be at Radisson Blu at that time when I saw so many men and women, Sierra Leoneans, who invested so much of their money to provide services for Timis Mining Corporation. And they were left jobless, penniless, never paid them, especially those who had unsecured credits. So when I see things like that re-echoing, it bothers me, and it's still bothering me because I still see it. I still see the devil popping its head. Now, the same company, after Timis was cancelled, we took that same asset by law, everything that was left there, the machines, movables and immovable ones, and so many things, according to the Act, we, as a government, you're supposed to issue a letter and asking them, for a register of the assets, which means we ask them, what do you want to take away? And what do you want to leave for care and maintenance? In which we are supposed to negotiate after Timis has left, so that we'll pay a reasonable compensation for those assets. Automatically, after negotiations and payment of those compensations, those assets should be ours. Normally, most other countries have used this as an equity, as a free carried interest. We didn't. Rather, SL Mining came and took over. We did a valuation by a British firm, DMT, that came up to 16 million. It was disputable. It went to 19 million. As I'm talking, we've not received a penny from SL Mining for those assets. But they're using it to produce iron ore, Marampa Blue. So far, they've stockpiled over, or before the ban, over 700,000 tons. Not spent money on exploration, not spent money on drilling, blasting, or anything, rather than care and maintenance, and providing jobs for some Sierra Leoneans. I take my hat off to them. They're providing jobs for Sierra Leoneans. SL Mining itself employs over 650 people. Nearly 58 of them are experts, and they have also 7 contractors who are actually employing people, providing jobs for over 613 people. That's good, because we have job issues here. But at that time when we suspended, the price of iron ore was about $128 a ton, for which we are supposed to get 3% as a country. If you do your maths, at that time we have over nearly 700,000 tons. If you sell it at $128, it's roughly 90 million. And if you get 3%, that's 2.7 million as a nation. Divide that among 7, let's just do per capita. You do the maths, pittance. But that's what the law says. And if you are not depressed by that, what rather SL Mining is doing was actually not selling, or what they wanted to account to us. We got documentation only after the suspension, after 2 days. They provided us a lot of documentation. We went through. After several calculations with my colleagues, we realized they're actually selling it at $80 to a sister company owned by them, which is illegal according to the Act, except if we have advanced pricing agreements. So at $80, it should have been, if they sell it, it will come up to 56 million. There's a difference between 90 and 56. And if they pay us a 3% royalty, we end up with 1.68 million. So again, we are losing another million. Just imagine, from 90 million, we get 2.8, and that's not enough. Let them squeeze us a bit more. And it's for those reasons we said, consistently they refuse to meet with us, to go through those papers, so that we calculate. The law clearly spells it. What should happen and what shouldn't happen when you're exporting. I got my colleagues, we sat around the table, and it saddens me because so far they've done 3 shipments, 177,000 tons, for which they've gained about $23 million, and for which we are supposed to get $680,000. But if we allow it to be sold at 80, we'll get 424,000. And we are not that we've got it now, we are not getting it yet. I firmly believe that, of course, we are struggling as a nation, but our pride, our dignity, our intellect, we should not allow other people to come and belittle it. At least we know how to do the calculations. And it's for that reason we have the National Minerals Agency as a technical wing working in tandem with the Ministry of Mines to ensure that as much as, yes, we are not there yet, but a group of individuals coming and not trying to abide by the law and doing things willy-nilly here and there, that's not acceptable. Maybe it would have been acceptable in the past, but not under my regime. Of course, I'm fully aware it's not only about technical issues or legal issues. There are other ramifications, economic, political, diplomatic, and other stuff. So I just want to put it quite clear on SL Mining. The temporary 21-day suspension elapsed over a week ago, but we stopped them from shipping further until we come back to the table, work out these figures. According to the Act, have the advanced pricing agreement. They've been to my office on Monday, Tuesday. They gave us a lot of documents. Some of them do not make sense to us. Some of the explanations are still fuzzy, and we're asking them to provide all the documents. In terms of all the obligations, they're supposed to provide audited financial accounts. That's not happened. You know, again, for those who are interested in all the other details, I will encourage you to talk to the Ministry of Mines, and NMA will provide that. So far where we are, we encourage them to go back to operations, but without shipping. They are not happy with that. But I'm happy on behalf of my own people to say, go back to operations, provide jobs for those who are there, but let's speedily resolve these issues. Let's do the calculations, have an advanced pricing agreement according to the law. When that's done, then you can go back and ship. So that's where we are with SL Mining. Any other further discussions on that? I'm more than happy later to take that. But also, with regards Shandong, and we all know again what happened. You know, when AML went into production in 2011, it was exciting. You know, the plans phase 1, phase 2 was great. As I said, in 2013, nearly 38 million. In 2014, nearly 24 million. That's what the government of Sierra Leone got in taxes and non-taxes in terms of revenue. But again, because of the Ebola and the sharp drop in prices, you know, they stopped production. Stopped their shares by December 2014. By the 6th of March, they had to go into administration. Shandong, who had 25% share, took over, inherited most of the liabilities, and took 100% over the company. And let me just remind you, as far as you have AML, there are two projects here, completely different. We have the iron ore project, Tonkoli Iron Ore Project, a different company, then the African Port and Rail, that's responsible for the 200 kilometers from the mine site to Pepel. The government of Sierra Leone had 10% interest in that, and it was a lease for 99 years, or tied to the economic life of the mine. Shandong went into voluntary suspension of their operations in November 2017, voluntarily. And I'm sure some of you are aware, probably have friends or families who are laid off, some were never paid what was due. But again, we're also grateful Shandong poured over 1.5 billion to this country at that time to ensure the resuscitate the mine. But things have not gone according to plan. So they went into voluntary suspension of their own operations from November 2017, and normally after 24 months, which should have been this November, the government has the right to automatically cancel that. But no, they had a plan, was to liquidate. I mean, you know, we all know during liquidation, the only person who gains is the receiver. So the plan was to liquidate, free their directors and their shareholders from all liabilities, reincarnate themselves, and come back, buy the same assets from the receiver at a very cheaper rate. Again, history teaches us a lesson. The same thing happened at NDMC, for those who remember, Sierra Leone National Diamond Corporation. Went into receivership. Equipment that were worth millions were sold for just a few hundreds of dollars and bought by individuals. We had a mistake done from AML to Shandong, and we are not going to sit. And the law makes it quite clear. If you are being liquidated in the process of liquidation, you are not eligible for mineral rights. And then they were not even paying their license fees for 2 years. It's only after we terminated, then they went to pay. They had mine plan, financial models they are supposed to provide. They were not even providing, even after several calls. It's only after we terminated them, they went ahead. But it was not only that. There are so many several breaches. We had very little option. Had we allowed them to go into liquidation, that would have been the end. Rather, probably there would have been a different company there now, buying everything at a very almost giveaway price. And then the people of Sierra Leone will be the losers yet again. That axis has a history. Iron ore started in 1930. We had Delco there right up to 1975. They went into administration. The same trick which SL Mine is using, what they were using. An Australian company came, took over from 1981 to 85. They also went down. Until, African Minerals and Shandong came. So with Shandong, to me, the noise that we are unlawfully cancelling is not correct. And I will challenge anyone to read the act. Read it for yourself. If it's too legalistic, there's a guidance. There's a guide. It's 37 pages. It's clearly out there. But we leave that for the legal people to take that forward. Technically, I firmly believe, even morally and ethically, it's not right. We've been fooled for too long. You fool me once, shame on me. Fool me on you, fool me twice, shame on me. But we've been fooled severally, so we had to act. And it's not all doom and gloom. In the past, or since I took over in February, we've successfully issued 2 large-scale mining licenses. One in around Nimini, that was there for over 2 decades. People were just exploring. We gave a large-scale mining license for the first time. We have a large-scale gold mining operations in this country to a Chinese firm. There have been noise that, we cancelled my mama and now we cancelling Shandong, we hate the Chinese. It's not true. We just issued one. And we still have more applications being considered. April, we suspended Maya Mining Company for diamonds that were also not compliant. We suspended it for 21 days temporarily, extended it for another 21 days. A day like today, they are compliant and they've also got a large-scale mining license they just paid. So sometimes the stick works, not only the carrot. So we are also in the process, we are undertaking a nationwide airborne geophysical survey, 75% complete. I firmly believe where I stand as a geologist, I'm so optimistic. Every day I wake up, I'm thinking, wow. So far for 90 years, we've just been mining what the British left with us. That's all we know. They know deposits. But trust me, next year by April, May, we'll be seeing something different. There's going to be a lot of discoveries. I firmly believe that. So far, yes, there are anecdotal evidences, but it does not make sense if we just rely on those mineral resources and we allow our human resources to be abused, belittled, in a very undignified way. That's by belittling our intelligence. I firmly believe that Sierra Leoneans were clever. It's not by fluke. We had the first sub-Saharan university in Sierra Leone. It's rather unfortunate things have gone a bit pear-shaped. So I'm very optimistic that yes, those minerals will not manage themselves, but as human beings, if we put our resources together, support each other, I think we manage our resources, Sierra Leone could be a paradise. Yes, we're cancelling those who are not conforming in terms of exploration license, but we are doing everything according to the law, and we are doing everything keeping in mind the 7.1 million shareholders, the population of Sierra Leone, with over 48% under the age of 15 according to the census. These are the voiceless. So thank you very much, and happy to take any other question.
As we listen to waiting the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication, when Madam Amadi Gobe, as he give updates about government activities inside the press briefing, where the Ministry of Information and Communication can get every Thursday. And also inside the press briefing, we get the Director General for the National Civil Registration Authority, where Mr. Mohamed M. Masakoy. And also we get the Director General for the National Mineral Agency, where Julius Daniel Matia, where the self can give updates to the press. Well, as soon as self don't listen to waiting and say, now so this program go come to an end for today. Me wake out this program to una today. Me your name na Aissatou Smile Sise. So we will meet again to another edition of the Thursday press briefing, where the Ministry of Information and Communication can get every Thursday. Now the Ministry conference room. I say tata.